My brother and I got our visas in 1936, several years after applying. My cousin, Paula Emmerich, lived in New York at the time. She worked as a bookkeeper for Saul Wimpheimer, a second cousin of my father. He had a small factory in New York making hospital bed frames and other hospital metal furniture. Paula persuaded Saul to sign affidavits of support for Fred and me, guaranteeing that we would not ask him for anything once we arrived. Although we had our visas, America had quotas of immigrants, and we didn't know how long we'd have to wait for our quota number. Meanwhile, we tried other possibilities. I answered an ad for a bookkeeper in a sisal plantation in Nairobi, Kenya. I also tried to go to Israel, and for about a year I took lessons in Hebrew as well as Swahili. I knew I had to get out somehow, somewhere to survive. Finally, in 1939, our quota numbers were called. Siegfried was 29, I was 23. Monday, June 13, 1939, dawned gray and cloudy in Hamburg, Germany. My brother and I left Berlin by train the day before, where we said goodbye to our dear parents, his fiancée Margot and my fiancé, Max Alexander. We did not know when or if we would ever see any of them again. Our hearts were heavy with the sadness of the departure and fear of the unknown in a strange land. We slept in some third-rate hotel along with many refugees. We had breakfast in the hotel, then took our luggage, consisting of one suitcase each. At the corner waited the bus, which was to take us to the USS Manhattan. People were waiting to board, many of them accompanied by loved ones. Emotions ran high, tears flowed with last embraces. We boarded the bus, quietly watching the scene outside. Aboard the bus, we met a couple, Paul and Tony Epstein, who had left their family in Breslau. As the bus wound its way toward the pier, we chatted with them and began to feel not that quite alone anymore. By the time we arrived at the ship, we had decided to sit together in the dining room. The USS Manhattan was a large vessel by the standards of 1939. She belonged to the United States line and seemed huge to me, who had never been near an ocean before. We were only allowed to take along 10 mark, which at that time translated into $2.50. SA men in brown uniforms watched us file out of the bus. Some took our luggage for inspection to make sure we did not have any jewelry or other items of value hidden among our clothes. People who tried to smuggle anything not approved were not allowed to get aboard the ship and were arrested on the spot. The Epsteins and we were permitted to proceed and waited in a long line to have our papers inspected. Finally, we went across the gangway to enter this floating palace. Once on deck, with the sudden realization that we were now on American soil, Fred shouted joyfully, "Now they can all kiss my behind."